Greetings, guys. Now, welcome, guys, to a brand new episode of Redemption of the Rottens. I'm your host, MrYazMan300, and I'm joined today by a very special episode with my friend Kai and Joe. How you guys doing?
Quite okay. We had some flu the last couple of days. I mean, Avel and flu. That's basically like a common thread throughout my career in the community of Kind of Funny. So it's everything as well.
Yeah, doing okay. I was sick a week before last year, but I'm finally back in fighting form. So yeah, glad to be here.
Again, because for those who are not listening or don't know behind the scene, I accidentally, today I started recording late. It's on my side. I had some technical issues, so it happens a lot. And this is also the first time accident happens. And if you're a Kind of Funny fan, you know the rule: the garbage truck on fire.
I have to admit, I did also a podcast recording this week.
Yes.
And one other colleague there had to update their system at the very last minute, and also got away for 30-40 minutes until they really updated their system until the end. So it seems to be update time right now in Microsoft land.
Yes, and also I even updated everything yesterday, because before we did the Zoom call, I made sure that everything was updated, working well. I even updated OBS, because I also use OBS and Stream Elements attached together, and I had to make sure everything is working fine. Thankfully, today it's like, oh no, you forgot to update the Windows. I had to restart it, etc. Thankfully, it didn't take a lot of time. So, how are you guys doing today?
So far, so good. I did some couple of hours of Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, of course. And I'm slowly urging getting closer to the end. Well, at least more like to the middle of the game. But yeah, slowly.
I've resigned myself
100%.
Yeah, I've resigned myself to the fact that, much like the original, it'll probably take me the better part of 5 years to get through this one. So this afternoon, I might get a little Persona 5 Royal in. I don't know, but we'll see how it happens. Always the best intentions of making some progress in video games, and then that doesn't happen.
I think it took me 4 years to platinum the game, because I finished it at that time. I wasn't interested in platinuming the game. Then I was like, you know what, maybe I should revisit and platinum it. It's actually a good game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for when it comes to Zero Dawn, I was so into the game at that point. I made a list, hard written list, like what kind of trophies do I still have to do? What kind of quests do I have to finish up until I have to get the final trophy there as well. So it was a really, really intricate kind of planning that happened there, and I'm probably going to do this as well with Forbidden West at some point. But yeah.
All right. Okay, so to all our listeners and viewers, this show is called Redemption of the Rotten. It's a show where we'll be looking at movies that are badly received on Rotten Tomatoes, or movies that have polarizing response from critics and audience. So in today's episode, we'll be looking at Man of Steel, the film that started the DCEU. It came out if I'm not mistaken, 2013, directed by Zack Snyder. Christopher Nolan produced the film. And it has actually, a great history, because originally it was supposed to be, a Superman Returns sequel, because Bryan Singer was going to come back and so was the original cast. Unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, Superman Returns, despite it doing well at the box office, it was not the huge hit, right?
Yeah. I had seen it once, I think, Superman Returns, but it really put a dent in staying awake in my brain or something like that for a couple of. It had probably its moments, but it didn't really stay in everyone's mind, I guess.
Yeah, for me, it seemed like it was trying way too hard to be a Richard Donner Superman film, but with some modern sensibilities, and just the combination didn't work. It's
And I think it really had like strong competition from within its own house, because at the same time you had Smallville running, and I was really into Smallville, and then looking at Brandon Routh, I was thinking like, why aren't we getting like a proper Superman with like the actor from Smallville there, because he's
Tom
going to
Welling.
be Tom Welling. He's really going to be Superman eventually, probably at some time in the future. So why not cast him with this one? So it's,
and to tell you the truth,
really
it's Brandon Routh. He was good, because I know he takes a lot of crap for his for the film, but he was good in the film. I think mostly because he kind of looked like Christopher Reeve, and people were expecting Christopher Reeves. They weren't expecting Brandon Routh.
Yeah. Also, when he did the character again during the
Crisis event,
crossover, a Crisis event, he was really one of the standout characters there. I really liked him in this kind of like iteration of Superman. So really sad that he didn't really like get the recognition at that point.
Yeah. That's no problem, because I feel like the stigma of that film did affected his career, because he tried to appear in other movies and stuff, but it didn't work out for him. Because later, if I'm not mistaken, he was in Chuck, right?
Yeah, I think he had some guest spots in
he started doing well in TV shows, and then he got the CW Arrowverse. He got to be an Arrow, then he got to be a Legend of Tomorrow. So I'm glad to see like Brandon Routh, he's doing well now. And sadly, if I'm not mistaken, he's no longer on Legend. They wrote him off. And from what I understand, there was no bad blood between them. There was like, hey, it's part of the story, we'll have to write you off. Alright, so
I think that there was something happening over there as well that eventually led him to getting written off of the show. And I think he really wanted to stay in there to some extent, but I don't know.
Alright,
some kind of miscommunication happened there. So
So after Superman Returns didn't do the numbers that they want to pick, then DC they decided like, hey, you know what? Let's just try rebooting it, because they start looking at ideas. If I'm not mistaken, in 2008, it's like, how can we reboot this book with multiple peoples? And one of them was, I don't know if you guys read. Did you guys read the Matthew Vaughn, Mark Millar version of what their Superman pitch that they approached?
No,
I'm not familiar.
Well, they were gonna make their vision is that they're gonna make some kind. They describe it as a Godfather trilogy type of movie for Superman, where they describe that he actually was gonna end up growing up like as an adult on Krypton. He sees like the conflicts of Krypton through his dad, and then when he gets older and mature, he travels to Earth. That was like his plan is going to be like, instead of an infant coming to Earth, it's going to be a grown ass man coming to Earth.
Interesting approach.
Yeah, that was like one of his pitches.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah. And apparently, I don't know if I was able to confirm it or not. They're saying that he wanted Charlie Cox to play Superman for his version.
What?
Yeah. And that's actually really fun.
That would have been very interesting.
Yeah, it's really fun trivia, because Charlie Cox and Henry Cavill were both in Stardust by Matthew Vaughn film. If you guys remember, Charlie Cox was the lead and Henry Cavill was his rival.
Just from a certain perspective, I would probably would have seen a rendition of Charlie Cox in Superman suit by Nerve Ellis at some point, probably, because she's drawing him.
She's a super fan for sure. Yes,
she's drawing him very, very, very good.
Yeah, and so we ended up getting this new Man of Steel, and this all happened because Christopher Nolan had a hand in making this film made, because David is Goyer, like he told him he wrote the script of what he wanted Superman movie to be, and Christopher Nolan, he liked that. He was like, you know what, I'm going to help you then, and that's why he got a producer credit on the film, because he had a hand in developing the film. I don't think he was heavily creatively involved like some people might think it is.
So yeah, he's got a story credit on it.
So, question here: was this a separate thing from the Dark Knight trilogy?
It's a separate thing. It was from day one. It was going to be a separate thing.
Because I was under the assumption like he just finished like the Dark Knight trilogy, and then eventually they would say like, well, you've done already.
They were developing the film when they were working on Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, it's at some
that sounds about right.
Yeah. Okay, after that, because they started looking at directors, and I was looking at some of the directors' names they got. They went, I think, for Guillermo del Toro. He said no, and if I'm not mistaken, they went also to Ben Affleck, because I have actually the list here. Let me check 1 minute, guys, because I know they went to Ben Affleck, who ended up later playing Batman. There it says, Robert Zemeckis was also approached. Matt Reeves, who later go on to do Batman. Darren Aronofsky, if you guys know, Aronofsky was going to do like a Batman Year One movie. It was going to be an R-rated film. They were going to have, Joaquin Phoenix in the film. But that got cancelled. Then you also got Duncan Jones. Jonathan Liebsman, if you guys don't know him, he did like the first Michael Bay TMNT film. And I'm surprised to see this. They say that Tony Scott was also one of the directors that they were approached.
Really?
Yeah.
It would have been a completely different kind of Superman movie.
Especially with his art style.
A lot more beach volleyball.
Yeah. Especially his artistic art style, like the saturation. If you guys know how he shoots his film, I just wonder how it is going to feel like. I wonder if Denzel was going to be in the film if he had directed it. Was he going to be General Zod? Because you know how close Denzel and Tony Scott were. Okay, and then they settled on Zack Snyder, and that was in October 2010. And then we ended up hearing the cast like Henry Cavill is going to end up playing Superman. People like, who is Henry Cavill? Because most of the time people they know him as the guy from the Tudors, the TV show. An interesting fact, if you guys know about Henry Cavill, he actually multiple times was approached for Superman. There was an attempt by McG and what's his name, J.J. Abrams. They were developing a Superman movie. Do you remember Superman Flyby?
No.
I
remember the name.
Yeah.
But I don't remember any details.
Yeah, because I remember the people were praising that, like, they say this is one of the best Superman script that JJ has written. But then remember that there was some controversy because of at the ending where it gets revealed that Lex Luthor is a Kryptonian. There's some people say they did not like about it.
I mean, get weird with it, sure.
Do something different, like the one that I told you about the Matthew Vaughn version, but it's gonna be like an older guy comes in to older Clark Kent comes in as Superman to Earth. So Cavill was in Flyboy, and he also was one of the actors that I don't know if he was the front runner, but I don't know if he was approached for Superman Returns before they settled on Brandon Roth, because he has a very long history. Like they want him to be Superman. And because of also, that he was also as James Bond, almost became closely was between him and Daniel Craig as James Bond.
That would have been interesting. Yeah. But I also like this very interesting legendary story about him getting a phone call, and he didn't really get it on the first thing because he was like currently super hard into World of Warcraft and didn't really get the call. Yeah. I like this story.
Yeah, I remember the story. I think first time I heard about it he was actually on, was it Jay Leno? He talked about it. I wonder how many of his kids now remember who is Jay Leno, because most of now is Jimmy Fallon, Colbert, and Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel. It's a good thing Andy is in here, or he would have made a joke, right, Joe?
Oh, probably.
And for those who don't know, who Andy Mack is a friend of ours. He always pokes fun at our ages to see how old we are.
And the funny thing is, I'm the oldest one here.
I mean, you're the only one who loves Star Trek.
Well,
I mean, we do all love Star Trek.
I'm guilty for that. So
yeah.
Okay, so they got Henry Cavill playing Superman. Also, they got a great cast. What was I can have them like Amy Adams as Lois Lane, Michael Shannon as the villain General Zod, Kevin Costner and Diane Lynn as the Kents, Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, Anjit Rao. I might have mispronounced her name. She plays
Antje Traut. She's a German actress.
So thank you. Of course, she plays Zod's second in command of Fiora, and then you also got Eileen Zoror. She plays Lara, that's Superman's mom. Christopher Maloney, whom you know him from Law and Order, he plays the Colonel. Nathan Hardy, and we got Russell Crowe. He plays Jor-El, Superman's dad. There's some great casting we got for the cast.
Yeah, I mean,
banger cast for sure.
It really went full in on the cast there.
Yeah. Especially like if you look at the first one, the Richard Donner movie, they had Marlon Brando, and who was it? Oh yes, and I forgot his name. Just Gene Hackman also, and really interesting because if you look at Richard Donner, because they were big names, they got top billings. Both Marlon Brando and Gene Hackman, they got top billing over Christopher Reeves. Here it's like, if I'm not mistaken, Cavill has the top billing. If you look at the posters. This summer because
and I mean it's a similar thing as in Batman and Robin, which
and the first Batman movie, Jack Nicholson got top billing over Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
that's also true.
Yeah.
But in Batman and Robin, you had like Schwarzenegger as the top billing, and then I think only on the second thing you would have George Clooney as Batman over there. And
most of the time it's because of the big names, like who's the biggest actor. Because I even remember I was watching a clip of Spawn. John Leguizamo got top billing for Michael J. White, and he's supposed Michael J. White. He's supposed to be Spawn, like the lead.
Yeah. I feel like this was a time period where Larry Fishburne was getting some really juicy roles. He just was part of a great ensemble cast in Contagion a year or two before this. Just really great role in that film.
And
right around the time that this film came out, and right around the time that this film came out, he was also playing the I can't think of the character's name, but in Hannibal.
Yes, boss.
Such a good character in that show.
Yeah. His ex-wife is also in the movie, in the TV show, Jenna Torres.
Yes,
they're divorced, right? Sadly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they've split up. Yeah. But Larry Fishburne, great actor, and especially in roles like these, not just as Morpheus or Cowboy Curtis back in the day on Pee-wee's Playhouse, but these types of like executive or director or these types of roles, he's amazing shines.
When he plays like the boss, great. Like you talk about actors who are great at playing bosses. Himself, I think he would be also a great Commissioner Gordon. Also, if I think Lawrence Fishburne, he could have been a great Commissioner Gordon, but I have not seen the film, but from hearing Jeffrey Wright is doing an amazing job as Gordon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's very good. Absolutely. Looking forward to the potential for more Batman in that world with that cast. But that's another topic.
Yeah, it's another topic. I mean, we plan to might do one day Batman or Robin. If you guys are interested in being part of it.
Oh, yeah.
God. Too many puns. Thankfully, there's no puns in this film. So for this one, now it begins like the first shot we see is actually like with every Superman's origin story is with Krypton. We see actually the birth of Kal-El, like his father Russell Crowe is helping his mom with this birth, and actually this one we find out something very interesting about. I don't think we've seen it happen with other Superman stories. Like we find out that all the people of Krypton, they're born through artificial insemination, right? It was not a human birth.
It's I didn't really catch it on the first viewings at the beginning that there had been some kind of disease or some kind of influence there that would prevent any Kryptonian from getting pregnant or so.
Yeah.
And then you would have like this once in a lifetime situation where they finally somehow procreate eventually, and you would be getting Kal-El as
the first Kryptonian to be born without an artificially created.
Yeah, for generations, because otherwise you would have like some kind of cloning or artificial like procreation or something like that.
Yeah, they went down this path on the
It's
Krypton show as
Because
well.
I was gonna bring this up because it's the Krypton was originally supposed to be a prequel to Man of Steel. Then they scrapped it. Like, no, we make it a standalone. If you remember, that's why if you notice some of the elements that were in Krypton felt like it was stuff that was already introduced in Man of Steel.
It did feel pretty close.
Yeah. Even the designs, everything you watch, it's like, wow, that feels very close. Because I wonder how many of it did they abandon it. Because there's also some other stuff in the movie we'll talk later about what some ideas were mythology about what could have been like the iconic stuff in the DCEU, which we'll talk later. So from this one we find out that everything they're like the babies that we just met, about how it's like they're created through, I think, the Codex, which is actually a skull type of thing, which we later find out that this actually they have to store all the information for Krypton. Like they get decided like which one their job in their society for Krypton. This how they're decided. Like it sounds like there's no free will with them.
I don't know. For me, it sounded to be like more like the Kryptonian Wikipedia that they wanted to have like a backup for it. At least in my understanding of it.
Yeah, something like that. It's a MacGuffin. At the end of the day, that's exactly what it is.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate this bit of the beginning either. I just all the Krypton stuff is a ton of fun. The score in all of this,
which I'm surprised to hear people are not. It didn't get well received by people critics who watched the film
really
in the beginning, but now I think people are appreciating it more.
Could be, but Hans Zimmer went all in for that, and I really liked it.
And that time he was like, he's a little bit slow. He was like, he's getting tired of doing superhero movies. If you remember, he did Batman.
He's been saying that all over the time. So it's really funny when he's coming back. Then 2 years later,
he's made a hell of a career out of it. So.
Yeah.
And even remember when there was an interview, he got asked about why did you came back for Dark Phoenix and Wonder Woman 1984. He's like, you know what, that's on me because. Oh, you go ahead, Kai.
I have to say, when you're talking about Dark Phoenix, the score is pretty good. I have to say.
I mean, it's Hans Zimmer. He makes everything good.
The movie is bad, but the score is amazing.
And speaking of score, I mean. You know, one thing that we haven't even touched on, we got to bring up the trailers for this movie. Because these were god tier trailers with the Jor-El speech and the Jonathan Kent speeches, those monologues, and just goosebumps.
You know, I would love to play them, but unfortunately, I feel like for the first time here because I think we might get
probably get claimed.
Yeah, because I think when you're someone who's already established, you might get some little bit fast. But for us, we're just the beginners. We might get some problems, and we don't want to make this the first thing or episode. Well, we got claimed in the first episode, and not unless your Lionsgate who will manually claim you if you give them a bad review. So that's a story for another day. All right. So what was it? It's like the score, and so we see him like he takes like the Codex, and then he goes back and he plants them on Cal. Were you surprised to see that he did this? Like he started to implant him on...
No, I mean, of course, you would have like it's eventually that Superman or Kal-El has to be sent to Earth eventually, and he's also being embedded with some kind of data within his DNA and stuff like that. I don't really need that as a certain MacGuffin, additional MacGuffin, but. Okay.
I think that's supposed to be the fake out in that you see them create this key and also something is happening with, Cal, but, they keep pushing towards this key being what, Zod is searching for throughout this film. Then finally, future spoilers, it's revealed that it's within Cal's DNA ultimately. Yes. But yeah, I don't know that we needed the fake out.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been also like being stored somewhere within the computer core of this shuttle, as they did, I think, in Smallville to some extent. They could have done this
sounds
here.
right.
I think they could have done this there as well, but I don't know. I mean, it's plot for plot's sakes to some extent. And but what I did like was I have to say that at some point, because like 6 or 7 years later, you could say that Jor-El is kind of like the best representation of Greta Thunberg in movie history, more or less, because he's like a very straight-on representation for environmentalists and having care about like the environment. So
I mean, you see him actually in the scene. He flies with. He doesn't use a car to fight to the codex. He uses an animal. I mean, it's kind of like eco-friendly.
It's also true.
Yeah, and then he's already being shot down by some I don't know, evil guy.
Yeah. All right, so after that, we see him like he prepares to launch him, and Zod comes in. They fight, and he kills Jor-El, and then but Kal-El, he escapes like Krypton. We see him travel, and Zod, he gets captured for treason and for killing Jor-El. And Michael Shannon, boy man, talk about a guy who loves to scream a lot. I will find it. Yeah. So what did you guys thought of Michael Shannon?
He's a little angry.
Yeah. It's Michael Shannon being Michael Shannon.
Yeah, he's really great in this
he's great
role as a super evil bad guy. A little bit too shouty. I think you're correct there as well. But overall, I enjoyed his role, and overall, like anybody on the evil side, like also this Untitled did their job also quite well.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Shannon's no Terrence Stamp, but
Yeah. Terrence Stamp, I think because I've not seen Superman 2 for a long time. He's very quiet, right, in those films.
It's a very subdued performance for sure. He is very, very
Maybe
calm.
Like,
it's just the line that everybody always remembers is,
kneel before Zod.
Being all about kneeling before Zod, yeah.
No, here, like, cover ears before Zod, before he speaks. and speaking about shouting, I remember, and I saw this, like, man, this feels like he's acting like Daniel Day-Lewis' character from There Will Be Blood. Because of the shouting. And when I was reading about it, apparently Daniel Day-Lewis was one of the actors they looked at for Zod. him and Viggo Mortensen. I think Viggo Mortensen was close to become, but then they went with Michael Shannon.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, because I think he doesn't like to do franchise movies a lot now after Lord of the Ring.
Yeah.
So, and then, by the way, is it me or it might be my pervy mind, but did you notice that when they encapsulate them, when they're sent to the Phantom Zone, it looks like a phallic symbol, the capsule that they covered in?
You
the
like
dildo pods.
Rising penises that are flying all over Krypton.
Why does everything has to be like penises? I mean, we get it like Alien. Part of it's like sexual. There's some sexual theme with Alien, but this.
The evil dick ships from Krypton.
Yeah. So they get sent like to the Phantom Zone, and then we see Kryptons blow up, and then we see Kal-El, and he lands on Earth. And then later we see immediately it cuts to a present day, and he's actually on a fishing boat.
That I didn't really like, because at that point you are getting very into a non-linear storytelling.
I think this is part where it's the Christopher Nolan part, because this is what he's known for doing non-linear storytelling.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but
he didn't do it with Dark Knight, because I think that's the only movie he didn't do non-linear, right?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, there's a little bit of varying planes of action that aren't necessarily happening at the same time in Dark Knight, but I don't think the non-linear. All the back and forth with all the flashbacks and everything.
I think in the beginning a little bit it affected, but the rest
later
in the movie that doesn't. Because later when he remembers about the bus, which we'll talk about it, it's kind of a little bit of sort of fell out of nowhere. Because they're doing it very quickly.
Yeah, I like Clark's little journey of self-discovery in this film. Just kind of going out there on his own. I don't mind it.
That's the thing, because overall, I may be getting a little bit more ahead right now, because seeing this whole movie by itself, I didn't really have the impression that this is like a origin story for Superman per se, more like an origin story for being Clark Kent. Because he basically starts off from the beginning of being like a Superman, or being Superman, a Superman-like personality, and then getting more to know about his own personal history and where he came from. And then only by the end, he starts to embrace his Clark Kent personality, because he didn't really bother being Clark Kent to that point. It's because if you remember, if you remember the old iterations of Superman, Superman is basically trying to hide everything behind his Clark Kent personality, and here it's basically he doesn't really give a shit about like protecting his own like personality over there, or at least he wants to show his kind of capabilities here or there. At least
I think he's living a life where he doesn't have to worry about that necessarily.
Yeah,
because
he's more like a drifter person that's basically a person without it, just like Wolverine at the beginning of X-Men. There's this one scene where they are in this pub scene, and when I was watching the movie last week, I was thinking like this kind of reminds me of the introduction of Wolverine there. Where
a hairy guy with
broody.
with giant muscles. There's the same thing.
No, that too. Also like the 6-packs and 8-packs and whatever. No, it's more like you have this strong brooding man who has been completely gotten rid of society, who's living a life on his own, and then he's been in some kind of pub or
in Canada also, by we should clarify
something in Canada.
Yeah.
Where
I first noticed it was in Canada because of the actors, because I know some of the actors they appear in shows that were shot in Canada or Canadian shows. Because that guy, remember that truck?
There's a ton of people from Battlestar Galactica in this.
Yes, there are lots of, like, at least 2.
And Bates Motel, because that truck driver was in Bates Motel, if you remember.
Yeah.
And then you also got later the scientist who sees sitting to the computer talking to screen about the frozen ship. That's actually the guy who voiced L in the anime Death Note dub.
Okay. But it really feels like you're being in this like pub situation, and then you have this situation where he has to fight for someone else. In the X-Men, he fights for Rogue, and here he fights for like the random person that he sees there as well.
Maybe we won't be seen later in the film.
Yeah, and then it's basically like, okay, I know that I have some super duper powers. Maybe I have to use them to some extent, and then eventually the plot goes further from that point on. It really like reminded me of this thing.
Well, it's a good thing like he didn't punch him. He ended up like that guy in Luke Cage. Remember, he punched him in the face. We only would have it like this. Right. So after that, here at the bar, we find out that he learns about the location of the ship from 2 soldiers they were talking. Now, these are actually Canadian soldiers, right? Because they mentioned the Americans are there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes there, and then we see Lois Lane. She comes to them. What was the reason why how she got to be there, Lois?
I think
there was some type of they were like. They were trying to block her access, but she won some type of legal battle to be able to, cover this excavation.
Oh, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I do like we see Cal and just, that's Joe, and like you see him like that part, like you be careful with that head. You seem like he's just holding him like this, like okay.
Right.
And then later. They don't like her. Everybody, even the military, is like they all go into the room and there's a bucket for you to pee at. There's always a bucket. I wonder if these buckets are clean or just the same, like they don't leave it. All right. So after that, you see her like she goes out taking photos, and through the photos, you see she notices like what's it, Clark. She follows him inside the ship, and now we see Clark, and he actually, he first inserts like the key there with the House of L so simple. Then, if I'm not mistaken, he sees a ghost of his dad, and he starts following it, right?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, at that point, it's like a holographic representation of Jor-El. So whether it's a hallucination or like a holographic projection,
I think the first the list we find out that it's actually an AI with Jor-El's conscience. But the way it shots, it sounds like the shot was like a horror movie. It's like he's walking through the corner, etc. And then of course, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you guys noticed that. Did you guys notice when he goes after he sees the pot, sees the dead body? You see one pot is open and there's no body in it.
Oh yeah. There was supposed to be like a plot point or plot hook for one of the upcoming movies afterwards. Like there could have been some other Kryptonian in there that could have been like a super bad guy in one of the later movies.
Yeah.
If they would have made Man of Steel 2.
Yeah, but apparently another theory is that they say that this is actually supposed to be a character who turns out to be an Amazonian. Something like they're gonna establish that that the Amazonians this is how they are, like they're Kryptonians. That's how their people are see them as gods. Because of this, like, is a Krypton. That was like being the theory, but I don't know if it's true or not. They're trying to make it grounded. That's why, like.
That doesn't be very grounded at all.
Whether it's aliens or gods, I don't think it's really grounded either way. So yeah, that would have been very weird.
I mean,
but I have to say, at some point I had some flashbacks to the X-Files movie when they were like excavating in the deep freezing areas of Antarctica within some kind of strange alien spaceship. Just like also like you have the male lead and the female lead as well there.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the end when Mulder goes to rescue Scully. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because later we see like what's the lowest she goes in, but she gets attacked by the robot and Kal-El, he saves her, and then he leaves with the ship. And then later we see Lois, she goes back, and then Perry was like, I can't publish this story because there's no evidence like that. The Quintacon is denying it, and you have no positive, so I can't publish this. And then later you see her like she goes to some kind of other hack. I think what was it? Is this some kind of another newspaper?
He was like a blogger. Yeah. He was like a Drudge Report type of character.
Yeah. Yeah, she goes to him and she hands him the story. He even tells her, "Didn't you insulted me in one of your?" And yes, and I like that. She responds, "Yeah, I mean by it." And then we see like what's it, Kal-El? Was that part where he talks to his dad Jor-El, or he tells him about Krypton? I think before she goes to that reporter, or after she goes to him.
Yeah. She is at that point. It's more like again a little bit intermixed time-wise, because he flies away with the ship, and she goes back to Metropolis, and he's basically getting his suit, and he's getting more information about.
Yeah, that's already produced and perfectly sized for him in that little chamber. Yeah. Because why not? I love Perry's little throwaway line about how I will never print a headline about aliens walking among us. That it was cheesy, but I liked it.
Yeah. Also, before I just remember we didn't talk about one of the most controversial flashbacks, was it like the bus accident? If you remember, like we see like the bus, it crashes.
Oh yeah.
That was like the thing we didn't. We have to address it. Like after he saved them.
I have to say something there.
Yeah.
One thing during this viewing that really bothered me, because again we were talking about earlier about the influence of Superman during Smallville in the early 2000s compared to what we are seeing here in the movies. because that Superman, or basically Clark Kent at that point, played by Tom Welling, was heavily being influenced by his friends that he was working with. One of them, like Lana Lang, and
apparently, if I'm not mistaken, the girl that was in the bus that defended Kal-El from being bullied, that's apparently supposed to be Lana, if I'm not mistaken.
That's supposed to be Lana Lang, and you also have like Pete Ross, who's supposed to be like this red-haired person that's mocking him in the beginning, and then later becomes some kind of friend. We've been seeing Pete Ross also in Smallville, where he also played a very large role that basically grounded him to some extent, and also like tried to enforce his sensibility to help others, and this is something that I was really, really missing here, because you're only having his father, or at this point, like Kevin Costner, as his sole like influencer person to say, well, when he should be supposed to use his powers or not in helping others, or for helping others. And this is a very substantial thing in his comeuppance in Smallville, where he's being influenced by his camaraderie, by his friends, and by his family. And here's just like, well, sometimes you have to choose to show your powers to help others, and sometimes you let them die. And this is something that really, really bothered me in this movie, especially. I mean, Kevin Costner is really, really great, but sometimes his messaging or the things that he's saying is really, really puzzling.
I love his performance in that scene, though, when they're sitting at the back of the pickup truck, and holy crap. And it also just smacks of, okay, this is a dad who's trying to, well, he's got to make it up as he's going along, because that's what people do, right? But also just, he doesn't have all the answers. And maybe you should have let them die. I don't know, because I mean this could have snowballed completely out of control.
And we saw the mom, the member of one of the victims he saved, like she said, "Oh, it must be good from God's message from the way she talks." Because you know how people see him, like we do see him later. People see him like he's like some kind of a god. Mostly in Batman, he's Superman. But I know they didn't definitely.
They lean heavily into the Christ-like character of Superman in Batman versus Superman. Less so in this one, but I
mean, the other times was, I think,
still pretty heavy,
more,
but
way heavy.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about
especially
it especially
what he's actually a young kid. God knows what this influence would do to him if this happens to him. Because he get more influence and stuff. And that's why, because when you see him, like, I remember the previous version, he was a kid in school, we see him having conflicts with his power, his x-rays and hearing sensibility. You hear the students tell him, man, he's a weird, but no wonder he doesn't hang out with us. I think part of it maybe because they don't want him, like, to be close with friends, like, because maybe one single bad influence was going to affect him, like.
That's the thing when I was saying earlier that this movie rather felt like a origin story for him being Clark Kent rather than being Superman, because he does have like this new family that he cares about with Lois and of course his mother and this other thing, which he used to have like in his Smallville area, and
well, and hasn't this always been part of the conversation of both Superman and Batman, in that, Superman is always Superman. It's that Clark Kent is the costume at the end of the day. I mean, in certain interpretations of the role. And that totally makes sense that's what this film is at the end of the day. It's him becoming Clark Kent and, getting more in touch maybe with his humanity, I guess. I don't know. It's... and I know this, I don't want to go on forever about this, conversation between Jonathan and Clark, but, it sets up the future scene of him waving him off during the tornado. And I mean, it's a pretty heartbreaking scene. Yeah,
it is.
All right, so we stop. Oh yes, after she published the story, and And then we see her, like, she starts following the trails. She goes, like, she meets, like, the woman in the bar and the fisherman. Then she reaches Smallville, and that's his friend Pete, right? The guy he saves. Okay.
Yes, exactly. That's also the guy from the IHOP.
Yeah. We're gonna return back to IHOP and other stuff later.
Spoilers for all the commercials in the movie.
Yeah. So she finds out this location, and then he goes to her room, and he tells her the story. We find out that his dad, like, he died during a hurricane, and he want to go save him, but his dad told him, no, don't come to him. He waves to him. Which I know people are still mad about. It's like, why? Man, he can still do it. Like, I mean, like I said, we see him, like, in the car, like, the way he's not, like, well yet, because he's still, like, not a teenager. He's going through some stuff. Like, he's not. You can see, like, he's not well prepared to be Superman yet to save him. Because we see him, like, whenever you see him, like, bam, why can't it? Because you see some parts, I feel like they didn't do some explanation. Well, like, the way how he's going through his life, like, he's growing up and stuff. Like, you feel like he's not yet prepared, ready to become, like, Superman to go out.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know, you can understand. I think his dad knows, like, he's not ready yet. Like, he knows that because you see him, like, he grows. I think this one, I think it made him affect, like, his death made him affect, like, okay, I have to prepare myself well to become, like, use my powers for the right reason.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan's last act there of trying to protect his son and protect his son from the world finding out and all of that. Yeah, I mean, it's like this last, I don't want to call it heroic, but this last act before he dies. And it's also the scenario that fundamentally kind of breaks Clark for a large portion of this story, because it's probably not long after this that he strikes out on his own, I would imagine.
Yeah. And he's actually, the opposite of his dad, story, like, if you go to Jor-El, like, he wants him to embrace, like, his powers and stuff, because you see him, like, he was going to become a god to them, because remember when he sends them, his wife, she tells him, like, he's going to be an outcast, he's going to be all his powers and stuff, like, no, he's going to be a god, he tells them, like, I feel like he was more okay with him, like, his biological Jor-El, unlike his, Jonathan Kent's, like, he's being very protective of him, because he knows how, because Jor-El has never been to Earth. He doesn't know how Earth is. Jonathan, he lived in Earth. He knows how people are. He knows everything. Mm-hmm. That's how he's more afraid of his protective about his son. Like, unlike Jor-El, who's actually he wants him to embrace it.
That's basically one of the underlying questions for Superman in any kind of iteration. So like what happens if someone like Superman does not have a protective or good family environment to grow up with.
We already got one. It's called Homelander.
Yeah, that's basically a good example. Or there's also in the
Red Sun,
Red Sun.
Yeah, what
is also a very interesting version of this kind of thought process or thought experiment.
And he got locked up being with Dickens because we don't know who. He might end up with some Redskins and he can't become racist Superman. Nothing like seeing a racist Superman attacking.
I mean, we get that in Peacemaker, don't we?
No, I have not seen the show yet, but I think I got the idea.
Oh, I can't wait for you to see that, Yaz.
Me neither.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. It's, everybody that likes to talk up the boys never really did much for me. That Peacemaker ultimately didn't do so much better. Okay. So that is my hot take on those two properties.
You want the boys to have a slow walking eagle, right?
I mean, maybe more hair metal. I don't know.
All right. So because later, like, you see her, like, after he tells her the story, she tells him, like, I'm not publishing the story. I stopped it. And then he knows, like, we see him, like, pay what he finds out, like, I hope you did the right thing, because he even tells her the world is not really to hear about the aliens. And then after that, we see, what was it? He's back with his mom, and then we find out about them, like, Zod, like, he and his crew are coming to Earth on the ship. Now, I'm gonna say, because now you see him, like, even the TVs, like, they're showing it, but how did his mom see the ship? Because you see what looks like a light in the sky, but when Clark, you see, like, he uses his eyesight to zoom in to see the ship. How did she see? How can it not might actually be an airplane in the sky?
I still think it was fairly large to the naked eye.
Or maybe the way it was moving.
I think it's basically the same visual gag as in Star Trek when Spock sees the destruction of Vulcan, even though Vulcan is like several light years away. Something like that just represents that he kind of sees something there in the distance, and like the proportions are being a little bit muddled there, just to show you that, well, he does have a advanced vision concerning compared to others.
Okay, then we see like Zod and his crew, they take over like all the power in the world, and they start sending the message like, we need Kal-El, and we want you guys to, we have 24 hours to come or we destroy Earth. And then you see like
that's proper Independence Day stuff. Yeah. I like this one.
Yeah.
And anytime anyone wants to use the phrase, I have traveled across an ocean of stars, that just gives me chills every time. I love it.
Especially when you have someone like Michael Shannon saying it. I don't know if you guys remember.
It works.
Do you guys remember when Uppetman did a gag also about this, where Greg sends a message to Jimmy Fallon for taking Mike Drucker from them? Because I remember.
I missed that. I have to look that up.
Imagine Michael Shannon doing the Kneel Before Zod speech. That would have been like amazing.
That would have been straight fire. Absolutely. Zod!
Okay, after that, then we see him like he's confident. We see like Lois Lane, the military, the FBI, they take her, and Cal like he's conflicted, and then he goes to the church. I'm forgetting now, but the priest, is that the guy who bullied him as a kid?
I don't know. He just went there just for like being represented just behind Jesus, just in front of Jesus Christ or something.
Behind the photo you're talking about. Which we'll talk about all this Christianity and Jesus stuff later. I'm gonna leave it to you later.
At that point, the visualization of like what they're trying to do visually there just went over the head, just like being too obvious.
And also, when you see a priest, you see a guy comes in and says, "Oh, I'm the guy." What's the chance that he might be? It's like a guy who might be a psycho, or maybe someone who might be crazy, coming to him. Like, can't he maybe at least check about it? Because then we see him like he goes out and he meets with the military and he makes the deals like, I want you guys to let Lois free and I'll go meet with Zod. And we see him like he talks with her, and I actually did like the way the scene with him and with Lois, they're talking, because it felt like I was watching Superman. He's talking to her about him. It's like, hey, why are you doing this? Like he said, I don't want to if they feel safe with me handcuffed, then I'll be okay with me handcuffed. Even the way he talks feels like this part I felt like felt like Superman. Did you guys feel the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
It did. It really did. It's
you get that great line somewhere around here about, I'm from Kansas, General. I'm about as American as it comes. Yeah. Is it at the end? Oh, yes, God. It feels like it's around here.
I think it's by the end there, but you're completely right there.
And that's actually, if not mistaken, that's Harry Lennox. That's his name?
Yeah.
Harry Lennox.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. And if people
also like spoilers for later, he's like the Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, we find out about, because it's kind of teased about that he might be Martian Manhunter, because I think even what's his name?
Just like Christopher Maloney's character, his call sign is Defender.
I think it's Guardian.
Okay.
Yeah. Because,
Guardian. Yeah. Sorry.
And then you also got Richard Schiff. He plays the Doctor Emil Hamilton now. That's the actor from, if not mistaken, The West Wing. The Doctor.
Yeah.
And now both him and Christopher Maloney, they were actually in the beginning with Lois Lane, the extraction site, the Americans that the Canadians were mentioning. So after that, they take him.
And the dude that played Gata on Battlestar Galactica was in that scene too. Just so many fucking people in this movie. It's wonderful.
Again, like I said, they shot it in Canada. Because if you shoot in Canada, it's like, let's get the Canadian actors to be in it. I don't know if it's because of location, or maybe because there's some rules about you need to have Canadian actors. Anyhow, so And then they send him like to Zod to they take him, and they also say that they want Lois. Did they explain why they wanted her?
I don't know that they did.
I don't.
Is it because maybe she knows about him? Maybe like
we need her on the ship to further the plot.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what-
it doesn't really make sense to get her on the ship in the first place for the Kryptonians, but
Yeah, because she gets taken. They have her wear a mask, and because they say that because the atmosphere, humans will not go well with the Kryptonian atmosphere. We see like Superman. He gets weaker because of the Kryptonian atmosphere, and then they place him in the machine, and Zod tells him like what he wants to do. Like he tells him like I'm going to terraform Earth to Krypton, and if the humans if they don't want people will kill them, and he tells him I'm not gonna be part of this. And if not, and before that, he hands her like the key, like the Kryptonian key to Lois, and she uses it with the help of Jor-El's AI. They escape of the ship, and they change the atmosphere back to make it more to like Earth's atmosphere, and she goes out the launch pad, but her she got damaged by what's her name? The lieutenant Fiora. She destroys the pod where she goes down like she's sinking, and then we see him like he tells him go save her, like be like go save humanity. He tells them, and then you see him like he goes on with that's another Jesus shot, right, Kai? With him going out.
Yeah, it's just like he's turning 180 degrees and then just like storming towards the pod.
Yeah, and he saves her, and I think they needed Lois because to find out how did he find out the location of the Kent's house? Through Lois or through Cal?
Could have been either.
Yeah, because I know
because they were in both of their brains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they say that
at that point, plot is really getting murky.
Yeah, they go out there to find the codex, but they only find his ship with no codex. He gets angry. He throws the car at the house, and then you hear Cal after he says,
they fuck up her house. Yes,
and she's like, "Nah, everything is okay. Nothing important is damaged."
Yeah, there's a big fort being thrown directly into her living room or so. So it's you see it later on.
They didn't attack the dog, right? The dog is okay, right? Because to make sure
dog's fine. Dog's fine.
I like that most of the movies. It's like, make sure the dog doesn't get hurt. That's the most important role.
But they eventually get the pot from
the Gaga. They give
it's in the barn.
Yeah, the barn.
Yeah, because after that, he comes in and he kicks Zod's ass, and Zod man gets damaged, and he starts experiencing the same thing of what Cal was experiencing with his powers. And then after that, his lieutenant Fiora and another one of his armed soldiers, they come and start attacking them.
Yeah, that's the first big brawl in Smallville, and let's just say the property damage there. It doesn't really look great for this town in the future. I have to say.
No, it's like they got hit by a massive tornado or something.
Yeah.
I mean, they already had the tornado coming to them.
Let's just see they need new Texacos and IHOPs in the future.
Yeah, so I noticed IHOP and Sears. What else did you guys? Was there product placement beside IHOP and Sears?
Texaco, and
I think that was the gas station. Yeah. They're going to be picking A10 warthogs out of that town for years.
Yes, I remember 7-Eleven.
Oh, yep.
At least this product placement, there wasn't as as gratuitous. Like what was it? The Power Ranger with the Krispy Kreme. It was two in the nose. At least wasn't like this, because I remember the Power Rangers, the movie. They had scene where Rita Repulsa they're destroying and she's eating a Krispy Kreme and she's posing also. Have you guys seen the Power Rangers movie?
No, but
I've heard good things actually. But
it's better than it's supposed to be.
I'm a little too old for Power Rangers, unfortunately. I that was not at the right time frame for me. But this is the part, after all this battle where we get that wonderful line from Christopher Maloney, "This man is not our enemy," and it's
because
the delivery on it's
life.
a little weird.
Also, I like that. Remember, he was
but
about
I like
to fight
it
her,
still.
and the moment he's about to Carl came and saves his ass because he's about to die. Because he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm about to die."
A good death is its own reward. Yes.
Yeah. And after that, because Zod comes in and tells us we have to leave. They leave and to go to the ship. Yes.
Yeah, but at that point, there's also a situation where they are losing their kind of like atmospheric thing.
Yes, because it happened. Zod experienced it first. Then it was the super his second hand. Was it Fiora? Because I have to keep seeing her name multiple times.
Yeah, and eventually they flee with their ship, and then you would have like, well, everything is okay now. I think Smallville is safe from now on. Don't look at all those things behind in the background. Just go on with the plot.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were saying, man, he's not fighting very well. What's it, Clark? But he's still a beginner. He doesn't know how to fight, and he was not trained. I mean, unlike the comments that there are very experienced fighters who know how to fight. He's still a beginner. Like,
yeah, they all have military training and the effects of Earth's yellow sun.
Now, if not mistaken, they don't have all the. Is it because they're jumping with power because of the suit or because of the yellow sun?
Probably the latter.
Oh.
Maybe it's mixed up because part of the suit, maybe the part of it, because they're covering themselves because we see later Zod after he removes the suit, he gains the power of like Kal-El with the sun.
I mean, you also have to like consider the fact that they were also saying that the Earth's gravity is a little bit lighter, I think, than Krypton to some degree, if I remember correctly. The beginning.
I think maybe that's why the strength and jumping is what they get, but then the flying and what was it, the heat vision, they still haven't accessed it yet. Okay, so later in the ship they find out that the cortex is inside Kal-El's body, and they can't use it. They tell him we have let's terraform Earth into Krypton. And then we see him, and later see Kal-El. He says that here the AI of his father Jor-El. He tells Lois like how you can defeat them. He said use my son's ship because it has the Phantom drive to open the Phantom Zone and sends them all inside. So they both agree like Kal is gonna go to that terraforming machine and is it in India?
Yeah, it's basically on the other side of the Earth. So. Yes. Something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it's like the Indian Ocean.
It's something like that. I think it's the Indian Ocean, and also I like the part where it's like Superman's here. Superman. Oh, that's what we're calling the alien. Yeah. And then we see like Zod and this crew. He tells his crew stay on the ship. I have to go meet an old friend. We find out that he goes to the ship. Like Kal-El finds the phone, and then because it has the Genesis chamber where all that the Kryptonians artificial babies are in there. He wants to resurrect them. Oh yeah, Genesis. I thought you were talking about. For a moment, I thought you were holding the logo to that Terminator Genesis with the
No, it's just at that point like.
Oh, it's the band. I forgot the band.
Yeah.
So Zod goes to that ship. He destroys, if not mistaken.
We'll go with it.
He speaks with Jor-El, then he purges him his AI. Kal goes on to defeat to destroy the terraformer machine in the Indian Ocean, but you see him like because he's mixing him with the weaker because of the Kryptonian machines, turning it to the area to do Krypton, and then you see the damage is happening on Metropolis, and then we see Perry and his two of his members, they get stuck trying to save one of his co-workers. And
I also think this scene is really frightening if you see this shockwave coming closer and closer and closer and closer.
If not mistaken,
our thing in the area behind it is more like getting flattened more and more. And
and this is where a lot of Americans start to take issue with the film because of just all of the very, very blatant references to 9/11 with the destruction of a major city center. It's uncomfortable to watch for a lot of folks. It's and this is also where the film really devolves into punchy smash.
It's just like the third act superhero thing. Like we need a big battle at the end, the third act. I mean, it's not. There's
I was saying to Kai earlier. Yeah, I was saying to Kai earlier, this is the part in my rewatch where I started dozing off like crazy because it starts getting so dull because all it is people slugging away at each other and not really in any very interesting ways. I'm not alone in this critique. This is a pretty common critique of this film.
Even Shang-Chi, the recent movie I saw with Shang-Chi, like I liked it. The third act, it turns into like this also.
Yeah, but the thing is, I was talking to Joe about this earlier. It's like when I was seeing this scene when Superman was fighting General Zod over Metropolis, it really reminded me of the final battle in Matrix 3. What was it? Revolutions, I think. Where
Reloaded was the second.
No.
Second was Reloaded. Revolution, I think, was
with the all the
Smiths. The first part. Yeah. I mean, the very, very end of situation where you have Neo against Agent Smith, or basically every Agent Smith there is at that point, and you would have like a very huge fight in the skies through this Matrix town. And it really looked like a battle between a Superman kind of character against another Superman kind of enemy. And you would be thinking, whenever this movie came out, I think in 2004 or so, okay, we have this Superman battle at the end. So, but it isn't really Superman at that point in this thing. So what would be, if this would be a Superman fight with the original Superman? And you're getting this here, and you're feeling quite empty afterwards, just like in the end of Matrix Revolutions, because it's becoming really like a CGI battle, fist against fist kind of battle, with lots of destructions here and there, without anybody really noticing or caring about what's happening around them. I mean, in the Matrix, you don't really care because it's some kind of the Matrix. But here it's actual people dying there, also as an effect of what they're doing during the fights, and that's basically what anybody was when they were seeing the movie in the first place, were thinking like, what the hell is happening over here? This is not really the Superman that we are really knowing from history, from
because we would be expecting that he would be going out of his way to protect every single person that he possibly could from this wanton destruction.
And here it's looked like more like, oh, look over there. There's the highest building in Metropolis. Let's go over there and destroy this thing over there. To some extent, or not really like deliberately, but it's really like what you're saying with this 9/11 feeling that you would have. It's really getting like you're seeing lots of destruction, lots of implied deaths over there. What is going to happen afterwards? Speaking about it, we do know that this is a major plot point of Batman v Superman. But when future spoilers, but there's future consequences. But when this movie came out, it really felt like, okay, something needs to be addressed here, and I don't really see it over there.
And I think in BVS they don't dive to it a lot. Like, did you mention it? But then, if you guys seen the film, you see like the second one, they don't dive very much deeply because they focus a lot on Batman as Superman in BVS. That's what's my big critique.
But you're getting also like the Batman or the idea of Batman, like you have this godlike person here. We have to do something about like him using his powers for any kind of thing that he wants to do. there needs to be some kind of check over there, and I have to be the one to keep it in check. If the government doesn't do anything, because it does seem like that he's in cohorts with the government right now, there seems to be no kind of like guardrails or any kind of like check control over this kind of personality. And it seems like that, okay, I do have some background against like fighting smaller criminals and stuff like that. I did have some kind of run-ins with some Joker and some Penguin maybe in the back, and I did develop some technology over there. So maybe if I could be placing some millions over there, maybe I can do something about this as well. But overall, otherwise, we are going to be very, very fucked. And I do understand this kind of idea that is being placed over there, because it's really like, okay, we do need to have, if we cannot talk with him, we do need to have some kind of like check and balance that we are not ending in a similar situation as we experienced right now. Because overall, we want to not only save our like environment, our cities. At that point, you're also seeing like this one building. It was actually a Wayne Enterprises building. He was like personally involved with this kind of situation. That's really great in the beginning of Batman v Superman, that this one scene where this one ship crash lands into one of the buildings, and then afterwards you're having this one-on-one fight again from Superman against General Zod, while he's basically like cutting off the upper part of the building, and you're seeing in the next movie like, okay, that used to be a Wayne Enterprises building, and the guy over there who was supervising this thing actually died from that, and Batman or basically Bruce Wayne sees that building being
and this was an important person in Bruce Wayne's life, and that's part of what sends him spiraling. I appreciate that they immediately address this stuff in the follow-up film, but this is stuff that at the end of the day, the MCU just does infinitely better with Civil War and other properties.
And also, we saw the stories like they removed stuff, and instead, I feel like one part they went to Zack Snyder was like, "Hey man, there was a lot of studio interface. Then you heard about the sad story of his daughter dying, and then Joss Whedon, and then Justice League." Just one thing about they don't care about the story of the universe. It's like just make a movie and stuff. I feel like Snyder might have had some stuff to do, because we're talking about the ideas they have. Like we talked about how like Superman, that we just talked about is like how is he going to about how to look at superheroes and stuff like that. I feel like they need some ideas for they had some great ideas, but I feel like because there were too many cooks, and because they wanted to compete with Marvel, like it was like, hey, you know what? We just rushed everything. They didn't have time for it to develop the characters and stuff.
I'm not really sure about that, because I was under the impression that the studio involvement actually increased over time and wasn't really like present during Man of Steel. It only got like bigger throughout like the later movies. From what I've heard.
The Man of Steel, because for what I understand, everything was okay because they had Christopher Nolan's like. He came because I think he was because of, I don't know if you guys remember John Peters. I think he's an executive producer on the film, because I think he has some percentage because for Superman rights. Christopher Nolan banned him from ever coming near to the movie because he doesn't want it. Because you guys heard the story.
Wow.
Do you guys remember the story of Superman Lives? Like what he told Kevin Smith, like, hey, can you have him power, or let have him wear the cape, and also have him in the end of the movie fight a giant spider out of nowhere. I was like, why? And then he takes that spider.
Exactly. That the giant spider ended up in Wild Wild West.
Because he said, what did I see? What did I see? A giant spider.
That's one of those.
I think like because Christopher Nolan, I think might have, because they had this, because maybe I don't know, because they might have wanted to interfere, but I feel like Christopher Nolan, because he was overseeing, he was like, hey, we can trust him. But then for the sequel, Christopher Nolan was like, hey, you know what? I'm leaving everything to you, Zach, and stuff. And Warner Bros. Started getting more interfering and stuff.
I was under the impression when the movie came out in 2013, we had the Avengers just like 1 year before. And
Yeah.
you would also have like this city destroying battle at the end of the movie. And at that point, you would have like complete scenes where Captain America were saving people within a bank or on the streets of New York and stuff like that.
There was definitely some care to take care of civilians during that battle. Yes.
Also,
Exactly.
Avengers, there were multiple
I think
superheroes team. We talk about Man of Steel, which is just one person having to do my stuff. Like we said, they had to go to Indian Ocean.
He is Superman.
I mean, nothing. You
Superman.
can't do everything well. And we even say that he's still learning stuff. People, I think, like because they were expecting this to be Superman, it's like he has to do everything perfect. No one is perfect. I mean, they want to show you. A part of it's like they could have done something like, hey, look, this is not a perfect human being. It's like he's trying his best, like to try everything, but everyone because then we see it later, like in reviews, like they're trying to blame everything on him. It's like, oh, did he? But the style man, because even people saying this is not of God, because people are seeing him as God in the statue, and we saw that the false God on this. Because you see how like how this, I feel like they had some ideas, like, but I feel like maybe part of it because maybe studio interference with the sequel might have affected, like what some of the story's decisions what Snyder wanted to make.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking. Oh yes, so we were talking about the battle, and we didn't talk about the part where we see for some reason they allowed Lois to be on the plane. Was it necessary for him to have her on the plane? Because basically Robert Shep, he's the one who solved how to use the device.
No, it was basically from the end of the Smallville battle. They were like developing this idea of throwing everything into the Phantom Zone and creating some kind of black hole that would pull everything in. And they had like this device over there, and they would have to reinforce it with this kind of key. And from that point on, she was all the like they were flying with the C-14, or is it? The airplane, while Superman is flying to the Indian Ocean, and then basically they are fighting over there in Metropolis, while Superman is just like on the other side of the Earth.
Yeah, because later we see them like they try to activate the device, they do not succeed, and then later Robert Shift he finds out like, wait, I have to fix the sphere and stuff. If things works out well for them, and we see Superman Kal-El, and I said that scene when he's about to stand up and destroy the terraformer, that was like a beautiful, well shot scene. Yeah. And then you see what's her name, Fiora. She jumps on the plane trying to attack.
Yeah, she gets on the plane, starts wrecking shop, and we get the fun callback of a good death is its own reward, and
I wonder
Lois
if Robert Schiff
flying out the back of the plane.
And what about that? Did you know they were still alive because all the other crew are dead? It was only him. Did he thought that they were dead because they were still alive?
I mean, they killed basically everyone except like the doctor and the general.
And Lois, so she falls off later on the plane.
Yeah, she just falls out, and the doctor manages just like to press in the key,
activates
at the very
plane.
last moment.
He crashed and lands on the plane on the ship, and then it activates the Phantom Zone, and Clark saves Lois and everything. Oh, but before that, he actually the Zod he
How does he come from one part of the Earth to the other side of the Earth? Just like within a second or so.
I mean, he's as fast as the Flash. If the Flash can do it, then
I know, but
Yeah.
And we see the lines.
I mean, at least
like,
we didn't get the.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At least we didn't get spinning the Earth backwards to reverse time. So.
The only thing I know people don't like about the original film. Okay, so after that,
I actually don't hate it. It's just super cheesy.
Yeah.
Like very, very golden and silver age comics right there, for sure.
Okay,
But
so
that's okay.
When he destroys the Zod ship, he even said, "You'll destroy Krypton." He said Krypton had his chance, and he destroys it. After that, after the Phantom Zone gets activated, he saves Lois, and then you see Zod. He stands up like, "Look what you've done! You killed everything! Like, I'm going to kill," and he start fighting. cool fight scene between him and Zod, and we see like they started like the Wayne Enterprise, the Lex Luthor. Did you guys know? Because I know Wayne.
Yeah, there was LexCorp or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Was it?
Boy, man, the people's excited. I was like, "Oh, Lex Luthor is gonna be the sequel."
There's definitely a LexCorp building.
It was a Wayne Enterprise satellite, but there was a LexCorp tank truck that got destroyed.
Maybe that's why Batman was mad at him in BVS. He destroyed his expensive satellite, not this villain.
That also came in.
Maybe a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when I said they start fighting, and then we see him like he's a little bit slowly trying to adjust his power. He starts getting rid of the suits, and then the line it happens in the train station, right?
It does look like.
Yeah, they finally end up there.
Yeah, in the train station, he's holding him by his neck, and then he tells him like, if you like them, this one, then you die with them, and he's using his laser to kill him, and it comes to the second big controversial one was like, so we see Superman kill Zod. What was your reaction when you guys saw this scene?
The thing that, of course, you're in a situation where you know Superman is not someone who kills anyone else, but he's right now being forced to do it, or otherwise those people are going to die. And what I think personally is quite cheap is that eventually you don't really see what's happening to those people eventually. You don't really see them whether they survived or not. So you don't really, I mean, you do see him cracking his neck, but you don't really see like whether this was at the right time at the very last minute.
I think we're meant to assume that they survive, but
I think they're meant to
but you're right.
This would have been like the one easiest shot to do there, like to show them like running away, being happy, thanking him. It would have been super easy to include this there as well, just to show like, well, there are some people now who are going to appreciate what he had been doing, that he's still on the right side of like what's happening over there.
I could see that family running out of that, facsimile of Grand Central Station, terrified of what they just endured.
Exactly, but you don't see them at all. So it could very well also be that he cracked his neck at the very latest moment, so that he killed them actually, and that is basically bothering me there.
Yeah,
that you don't really like see the end result of the situation.
All right.
I think we definitely get the anguish that Kal-El is going through in having to ultimately kill Zod to stop him.
Yes.
That comes across plain as day.
That's great. That's really visible from Henry Cavill's acting there. But for me, it's very ambiguous at what's the actual like outcome for this family there.
Yeah,
because it does really seem like like a potential bad situation there, but you don't get a resolution for that. So it's a really odd choice for me there.
It is odd, yeah.
So after that, after he kills them, like if I'm not mistaken, we see the scenes like where he tells them, "Are you out of your?" I think he says that the F4, but they believe it because PG-13. They say, "Are you out of your effing mind?" And then he destroys the satellite he's trying to find. This when you said the Kansas bar.
Oh, yeah, the Predator drone. Yeah.
He tells them like I am Kansas American. I'm going to support you guys. Then he leaves. After that, you see him.
Yeah, it's got to be on his own terms.
Yeah. He goes to his mom and to his dad's grave, and he tells him like he knows that you would have. He remembers the flashback. He sees him like with the pose. And after that, he tells him what you're going to do now. He tells him like I already know. You see him like this is I think where you say he becomes finally Clark Kent when he goes to work for the Daily Bugle, and he's and you see him like he said, "What's your name? My name is Clark Kent. I'm the new employee." And
and you're already like in a situation where if you look at the faces of everyone walking around in the Daily Bugle, it's basically everybody knowing already that he's Superman. That's the thing that's bothering me the most.
I mean, too many people saw where he lives. Remember when Lois came to him to tell us about the plan? She came with a cup. That cup knows who Superman is, his house. Remember? I mean, there's too many stuff like...
But I think there's a very large percentage of the population of Smallville that knows exactly who Superman is.
Yep, especially what's his name, like the bus type of people who said. I'm pretty sure some of them know who he is.
Yep.
All right. So after that, so this is it. Like he goes on, he introduces himself as Superman. He was now an employee at the Daily Bugle, and that's the end of the film.
I love the editing on his way to the Daily Planet, where he's on his bike, he's adjusting his tie in the elevator, but you don't see his face. All of that, it all works really, really well, and it's such a breath of fresh air after this just never-ending slugfest that is so boring through this latter part of this movie.
Yep.
I love how this film wraps up.
All right.
Finally, it works.
Especially when you're seeing like, well, now you end up in a really like Superman kind of situation, and I want to see that story from now on.
Yes.
Spoilers. We haven't seen it at all up until now.
Not at all.
All right.
They tried. They really tried, but it just it didn't work.
Yeah.
All right. Some actually, I guess I have some trivia, some fun facts I find out about the film. So we know that what's her name? What's Antje Traue? That's her name, right?
Antje Traue.
Antje Traue. Okay, so like how
Antje Traue.
Okay, what Kai said.
Thanks, Kai.
And what's her name? And Eileen Zord. They were both cast in the film, Man of Steel, to play, as Zod, his right hand man Fiora, and Cal's mom, Lara. And a fun fact, if you guys saw like the casting, do you know who they originally wanted for these two roles?
Nope.
For Fiora, they wanted Gal Gadot, and for Superman's mom, they wanted Connie Nielsen. Gal Gadot and Connie Nielsen, both of them ended up appearing in Wonder Woman. Like Gal became Wonder Woman, and Connie became like Wonder Woman's mom. When you think about it, but.
Yeah.
And Gal also almost did become Fiora, but unfortunately she was pregnant. She had to drop out. So they gave her the chance to later. Zack Snyder, when he was thinking for Wonder Woman, it's like, you know what? I liked her audition. I'm gonna have her come back. Just think about because this the fact that we almost got the different actors that had it not be for some different sequences, we could have had different actors playing Wonder Woman instead of Gal.
Well, at least we got 2/3 of a really good Wonder Woman movie and a complete shit Wonder Woman movie. So thank God for all that.
Well, if you want to talk about it, we can put in 1984 as one of the movies we can talk about.
Oh, please no.
You don't want to?
No.
There's little tiny bits that are actually good in that film, and that is it. It's just... so
bad. That film was actually a step down from actually, and I was reading also some other facts. Apparently, Henry Cavill, if you notice, in the film Superman, when you see him shirtless, he had his chest and everything. He was not shaved everything, and from what I'm reading is that he actually insisted that he should have his chest there, which is something very great to see, because mostly with times when you see body muscle, they would tell people to shave their chest. Basically, when you go to bodybuilding, I'm glad to also see especially a superhero guy like with Jack. He goes hey, you know what? I'm not gonna shave my body hair. I'm gonna keep it because I don't know if Chris Evans is hairy or is Chris Hemsworth hairy or both them or not, because when you see them shaved, you don't see any body hair on their body.
Yeah, but Henry Cavill and shaving is like a story by itself. But yeah,
there are pluses and minuses where all of that is concerned.
Yeah.
Because wow, did that make for a weird ass Justice League?
Okay. And then find out actually trivia. I find out this actually, you might have heard the story. He talked about meeting Russell Crowe. They first started. This is not the first time they worked together. They were in a movie, a Ridley Scott movie, and it's called Good Life. I think Cavill had a small scene. He told him hey, I want to be. That was his first time learning to be an actor. Russell Crowe sent him a gift. He told him that it would take a journey for a person to become an actor with a long road. So you have to be persistent, etc. And then now we see them now they're playing father and son in this film. It's like a quick trivia. So, all right. So now we're gonna talk about some final thought of the film, and we're gonna give it a score. So our score movie is gonna be like this: is this film redeemable or unredeemable? So, do you guys want to start first? Talk about what do you guys what your final thought about the movie, and you guys want to score it? Kai, do you want to begin first?
Is there some kind of metric scale for redemption, or is it like a
No, you just give it
yes
like,
or
is it
no?
good or bad? It's like good or bad, something like this.
Okay.
But redeemable or unredeemable. Do you think it
There's
gets
one thing that I think in general the movie by itself is actually redeemable. I had lots of fun with it actually seeing it right now because I think it's less of a I wouldn't say pity that I have for this movie right now because there's so much potential in it, and we've been seeing everything like stuff that could be like a good extrapolation from this Superman iteration in later movies, just as we mentioned before in Batman v Superman or in any kind of the Justice League versions that we were having, regardless whether it was by Whedon or Snyder. I overall didn't like the idea that if you're talking about the original Zack Snyder iteration, that you would have a 5-movie arc until Superman actually becomes the Superman that we would be knowing from the past, like the hope oriented superhero, just as we know from the original movies from the 70s and 80s. I don't really think that this was a good way to do this, just like waiting so long to have this kind of personality for Superman there. But overall, I had lots of fun actually this time around, because I did know that some things that we had as issues with this movie were addressed eventually later on. So for me as a viewer, it's less of like, I do know the spoilery future of this movie, so I can basically concentrate more on this just like as a separate movie by itself, because I do know that, well, this kind of plot story points are going to be resolved or actually addressed in the later movie, so I don't really care about whether it's being addressed here as well. I mean, previously I was saying like it did really like bother me when I was seeing it the first time. Right now, well, you could do this in separate entities, and I really did understand it by the time I saw it for the 5th or 6th time or so. But when it came out, it really stood out like a sore thumb. And at that point, I would be saying like back in the day, it like had like a really bad feeling, but right now it's several years detached from it. I really like this movie actually. But there was some other kind of thing that I wanted to talk about actually. So can we do this later, or should we do this later, or right now actually?
Oh, I just remember what we can talk. Let's just give our score and we can talk about it later.
Okay.
Joe, what do you want to say?
I find this film, I mean, I didn't hate it when I originally saw it in theaters. Immediately it smacks you in the face with, the ending of the film being, what it is. But I love all the back and forth with the flashbacks and his upbringing at varying points in his childhood. All the stuff on Krypton is great. It works so well. Sure, does it look like a great big video game battle in some points? Yeah, but that's most superhero films anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be really fair about that, right? The casting is outstanding. The performances are really good. I mean, I like his Clark Kent. I like his Superman. It's Cavill is a really, really good choice, and I think he's gotten a very raw deal over the years.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to see another iteration of him with Superman, I mean, it's sad that we'll probably never get it. But yeah, this film, yeah, I like the really uncomfortable conversations between Clark and Jonathan. I know that you take a lot of issue with these, Kai, but I think it just makes for a very interesting, approach to all of this. And, for good or ill, I think, ultimately it's not the same old, and that's cool because guess what? I mean, Superman has been around for friggin' ever, and we don't need a paint by numbers origin story.
Yeah,
Just like they were super wise to do
the Wayne's
with Spider-Man in the MC. Exactly. No. We don't need to see Bruce Wayne's parents die and see pearls spill across the concrete anymore. No. So yeah, just again, get weird with it. Have fun with it. It's that other than, again, big CG slugfest. I have plenty of nice things to say about this film.
So you gave it score? A redeemable score?
Oh, I definitely redeemable. Okay. Absolutely.
It's all for redeemable for me as well.
Yeah. I'm also go with redeemable because, like I said, I'm with you, Joe. When I first saw it, I actually didn't hate it. I actually liked the film. I was like, it was a bit different thing because hearing after that the conversation, I understand that people they have some attachment for Superman. Like, this is actually a different adaptation of we got different Batman adaptations, and we got different. I mean, heck, we got multiple Spider-Man adaptations. Like, I know because people have the idea of Superman, and just this is what we have to. But this actually they were trying to do something different, and even if it didn't work out, but at least they tried something. And I agree with you. The third act, I feel like it was the weakest part of the film, but so far I actually did enjoy it, and like I said, it's a redeemable film. Okay. Kai,
I mean, in general, I have to say that's basically what DC is actually all about. If you are looking at the entire publication history of DC, is basically you're having this offer, give them just like the property and have a look at what they're coming up with as a kind of different take on the story, which has been we discussed it earlier, like Red Sun or the Injustice iteration or any kind of different thing. It's not really like you have this kind of moments in time whenever you are looking at Batman's history or Superman's history, but how you're getting to those kinds of things is always in the choice and in the hands of the author, or in that case director or writer of the movie. And that's basically what's I really like about the DC universe, because you also have this kinds of different multiverses or versions and iterations of Batman, Superman, and whatever. And in contrast to Marvel, and I mean, right now they're actually kind of embracing it, like the different kinds of universes and iterations, instead of pressing everything into one continuous storytelling in one universe, as you would know from the Marvel universe. But I think at that point it's a little bit too late, I think.
All right, and but one final thing I remembered about some trivia, and apparently Michael Shannon and the actress what's her name, the German actress, Kai?
Yeah,
that's the one.
Yes, they're going to be in the Flash. And
yes.
And it looks like what they're doing to is they're going to a Flashpoint, and they're gonna have Supergirl, the new Supergirl, be the replacement for Henry Cavill. That's, I think, the rumors.
Can we get a replacement for Ezra Miller?
I mean, they have to right now. They pushed it to next year, and
So you have to really like completely DCGI him out of the movie.
Someone, I mean, they are able to deep fake stuff and people. I mean,
if they can get rid of Cavill's mustache, they can get rid of
that turned out very well the whole time. Man, that was a big insult, man, to him.
My.
I remember, it's just the first thing you see when you watch the film. I was like, wait, what's with his face?
It's right. So weird. It's so weird.
I remember I was watching it with...
So off-putting.
Like, wait, what's with his face? I remember, oh, that's right. That was just the stupid mustache thing.
Hey, at least Fallout's a great Mission Impossible movie.
It was worth the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yep, and totally we get the reload and everything else. Yeah.
Okay, so
good stuff.
And
good
also,
stuff.
I just remember, Kai, you said you want to talk about one thing, which is I think about the Christianity stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We had yesterday already like a little bit. So yesterday we had this weekly or monthly Zoom call with Mark Freeman,
and crew,
and we already. I at least hinted a little bit because I did some research on this movie, or at least I looked at the Wikipedia page, which is basically my sole like deep dive into like the marketing history of this movie, and there was one tidbit about the marketing campaign that they did, which in hindsight really bothered me, or at least we dug up some resources and documents that felt really like off-putting, or at least really strange, because the entire movie was also being marketed completely solely by some Christian-based marketing company named Grace Hill Media, and they were basically, so we already discussed some of the Christian themes that we were seeing throughout the movie, and they really went all into these kind of topics and themes there as well, and they really had like sermons and talking points for fathers with their sons and children and stuff like that, just like, okay, you have seen this movie right now with Superman, and what do you think about Superman, and how do you think he's being related to Jesus? And you had lots of like written stuff about this, also like sermons like Jesus, the first superhero, and stuff like that. And I mean, having like the comparison, Jesus and Superman there, I think it's okay to have it, but it really feels blatantly obvious throughout the movie by itself. And some of the themes that were putting throughout the movie, I felt, is it really like the Jesus image that we are supposed to be having? Like, at some point, Superman is like at the very end, okay, the general is coming to him and say, well, we are trying to look after you, and Superman is just saying like, well, I only try to help you whenever I would like to help you, whether I would be like thinking about it and say I'm going to help you afterwards. And I sometimes had some of issue with this kind of interpretation for that, because for me Superman was always like this hero that shows hope for anybody and that surrounds him, and having someone like choosing to give someone hope or not give someone hope, especially when I was reading some of those resources, was kind of getting me like in a really bad situation, because there was one thing, for example, yesterday we were talking about it, about the bus scene, and you would have like Pete Ross eventually mocking a little bit Clark Kent in the bus or before it. And then you would have at one line, so Superman decides to help anybody on the bus, even the guy who he probably shouldn't be helping there. And I really, really was concerned about this kind of interpretation there, because it doesn't really care if you have this kind of power, whether you should help someone or not help someone. And I don't really like this interpretation of this.
Yeah, they're pushing really hard towards the evangelical side of Christianity with a lot of that. And I don't want to get into too much of that. But yeah, I find that very off-putting as well, where even Superman, the way that he is played off at the very end of the film in that final scene where he wrecks the Predator drone. And, you know, it's not so much about him choosing to, you know, give hope to people when he feels like it, so much as I'm never going to be under your thumb. I'm going to do the right thing, but it's not going to be because you tell me to, or because, you know,
because I'm choosing to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I also read that they did this with other movies. I think one of them was the Harry Potter films for I've read.
Really?
Yeah.
That just has creepy connotations right there.
Yeah.
Even though it's actually quite funny, because we do know that some of the Christian groups wanted to ban Harry Potter in the first place, but
well, you know, witchcraft, right? So
exactly. Yeah, it's really
I'm reading it. They did it with The Blind Side, The Notebook, and The Book of Eli, and the Harry Potter films.
Yeah.
I mean, Book of Eli makes sense because it's actually about him driving.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what Gary Whitta thought of it. Just a question.
I'm sure he had a good chuckle.
Like the end, but yeah. That's a movie by itself.
Oh,
I did like Denzel in it.
Yeah, he was good in the film.
Oh yeah, it's a very good performance.
Yeah. Okay, I think that was it actually for today's episode. Thank you guys for joining me today to talk about Man of Steel, and so far this actually gets because it gets a 3 redeemable score from all of us, so it gets a redeemable score from us. I don't know why I just repeated this. So anyhow, so thank you guys for joining us. So where can people guys find you? And do you guys have any stuff you guys want to talk about? Kai, do you want to begin first?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ave_Crinet or Crynite, depending on how you want to spell it. And that's basically it. The other podcasts I could tell you about it, but they are mostly in German, so I don't think
we can put it for the German audience. If I do have a German audience,
I do have a podcast called Offene Rufrequenzen, so like open hailing frequencies, which is you could guess it's all about Star Trek, and all about communication actually. And the other podcast that I'm doing is called 2-1 Risiko, like 2-1 Danger, like from Darkwing Duck, which is basically more like all over Disney and Disney Plus, Marvel, and stuff like that. So it's everything in German. So you could go there if you want to try to find out a new language. Otherwise, well. Yeah. Would be nice seeing some of familiar faces maybe in the comments.
I am at J Mertens on Twitter, J Mertens79 on Twitch, but I'm only ever in the chat. I don't stream.
It's really funny. If I posted the link to your Twitch, people was like, when is this guy gonna stream?
Yeah, never.
You know what? I'm gonna post the Twitch link to your channel on the description of just as a troll, just to get people.
Yeah, thanks for that. But yeah, you can see my new podcast where you, feature as a guest for
and I have to get more views.
Murders with Mertens, a horror movie podcast. Where we just, kind of break down horror films and all the cool shit
Mark
that you often find
to
in
my
them.
episode with the views. I have to get more views.
So what?
Can I get some view count update? Well, how much is it now?
Oh,
I'd have to look. I think you're all somewhere in the 20s, so we're just getting started. So,
so what was your movie? Yes,
Audition.
Okay.
Man, I can't wait for what is name, Andy to get mad at me.
Oh yeah. Andy, I don't think has any idea what he's getting into watching that film, and that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Mark is 23, Andy is 25, I'm is 28. I need to get more people. He's getting close. All right. I'm like I said, I'm at Twitter at DCEU300. For some reason, Twitch decided to suspend my old account. That's how I'm using that instead of MrYazMan. And thank you guys for watching this or listening to this episode, because I'm doing the video right now. I keep thinking I forgot about I also have to do also for the audio podcast. So thanks guys for watching, guys, and I hope I see you guys getting you guys for another new episodes, because I know Joe wants to talk about Malignant. He's excited for it.
If we can get Madeline Stanley on there, then that'll be an interesting conversation for sure.
You know what? Maybe you guys should come in as an audience. He just sits down and laugh at all the crazy shenanigans. What do you say, Kai?
That would be amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
We could always be your peanut gallery, sure.
Okay. So, all right, guys. So thanks, guys, for watching and listening. I hope I see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Take care.